Welcome to CAS 133 Basic Computer Skills Microsoft Office. This is going to be the third week of the term, and during this week we're going to make some drastic changes in how protocol happens. This is probably going to be one of the most important videos, this one and the second one, because I'm really going to tell you about the massive changes from what we've done the first 2 weeks. So, some things you need to know. First, you're going to need to have the textbook. The textbook looks like that. It says Microsoft Office 2013 Introductory on the front of it. If you do not have that book, you need to trot right over to the bookstore or whatever and get it, because you're not going to be able to continue on from this point without it. We'll be back to that in a minute. When you get to Microsoft this week, you're going to find that there's some resources at the top that you don't need to use unless you're having problems. There's a textbook PowerPoint. There's some differences between Office 365 and 2013. What are some of the features? What do you need to know? So if you're having some issues, that's the first place to go look before you ask, like, I'm stuck, now what? Next thing, you come down in here, this is the required section. It's going to give you your unit goals, and this new video that I'm making right now is going to go right in here. Then there are some directions and information we will come back to as I work on the application project. This is an audio file with a written transcript about an opportunity I'm going to give you. You're going to be doing basically 2 major projects really every week from here on out. The first one is what we're going to call the learning project, and we'll look at in a minute. The second one is what we're going to call the application project. If you have the learning project turned in before Wednesday night, say 8-ish or even a little, maybe even 6-ish that time on Wednesday night, if you have it down around dinner time, I will in the evening go through and look at those. If you have some horrific mistakes, major disasters, crises going on, I will give you some feedback. Now, if they're just little minor things, I'm probably not going to do much with them. But if you have some major disasters, I'm going to get that sent back to you. Check your feedback, watch your email, and that'll let you know before you dig into the application project too deeply that you're in trouble, and you better go back and relearn some information before you try to apply what you didn't learn that you should have learned. Because obviously that's a second disaster in the making. There's not anything good that's going to come from that situation. So, if you get your work done before that Wednesday, I will check it. If you don't do it before Wednesday, then you take that risk and you go on, and so be what happens, happens. Because I will not do a second check. It is a one-time check that Wednesday night. And I'll probably be checking around 8 or so. And the thing is, part of the year I'm in a different time zone, so try to shoot for 6-ish or so. That way you have enough time and you know you're good to go. There's a direction summary. The summary kind of walks you through sort of what you're going to be doing, what you need to do, sort of brings it down to the nuts and bolts. It reminds you of certain amounts you're supposed to do, kind of walks you through a lot of the information you're going to need. And it does it in a very succinct, missing a lot of details and manners, but it's a good reminder. And then there's the full summary, and that's basically like a checklist. Did I do this? Yep. 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 Done. Move on. Then a lot of times there are tips or tricks. Those have come about as we've done things and as we've worked with the program, worked with the book, and I put them in there for you to help save you time, effort, and problems. Then there are often some instructional materials that need to be looked at. You need to go through them, figure out what they're telling you. They're going to help support you doing the activity. I didn't put them in there just so we had more space used up in Moodle. They're there to help you be able to be successful. Since I'm not sitting in the classroom being able to show you exactly what I'm talking about, this is the next best thing. Student data files will be in there for each week. Those are every file that comes with the textbook, used or not used. If you don't need it, you ignore it. If it's not there and you think it should be, it's still not there. You don't need to email me and say, but it's not there. It means it's not there. Sometimes the textbook doesn't give you every possible thing you're going to need, and you have to be the resourceful person to do it. Think boss, think teacher, think situation. Somebody's not going to hand you all the parts and pieces for every piece of work you're going to create. A lot of times you're going to have to take the initiative to go get that. So I kind of talked about when you're going to have the initiative and when you're not going to as we continue these videos. Now, if you're using a different version of Office, you're trying to do it on a Mac, you're doing it with 2010, hopefully you're not back to Clear 07, but if you are, okay, hopefully you survived that. You can't go any further back, though, forget it. It doesn't even use the right file format at that point. So hopefully you're in the right version, but if you're not, that form lets you give me some information about why you ran into problems and how you worked around it. However, that form is becoming less and less valid. Microsoft has decided since the book was published that they were going to completely and totally rebuild their templates, their colors, their fonts, their clip art, and they've really messed us up. So there's going to be a lot of issues that we're going to deal with for everybody throughout the term, and a lot of times I've either supplied the materials for you, I was able to hunt them down and get them, or I'm going to be telling you things like make the colors match, make the type of font match, and we'll talk about some of that as we work through some of these projects here. So then you have your submission area just like you've had in the other weeks. So you're going to submit your learning project here. If you had a form and you felt you needed to tell me something more than they stole the template, which we all know already because I just told you that, you can put it in there and submit it. The application project gets loaded here, and it actually has two files. It has the completed project and it has a question and answer file. Then your journal reflection goes here, and you're going to start doing a journal every week. So let's talk about the journal. We'll start with that, and then we'll go back to the learning project. On the journal, you're going to basically go through, and you need 150 words. And yes, I actually do count words. There's a word counter on it. 149 is not 150. 120 is definitely not 150. So you're going to tell me 3 themes from the unit, basically 3 things you learned. You're going to tell me 2 ways that you can use that personally yourself. And the last one is you're going to tell me how you would teach someone else if you had the chance. You don't actually have to go out and drag somebody off the street and say, here, I need to teach you something. But you need to say, oh, if I could tell somebody else one thing I learned this week, what would it be? What would be that big takeaway that would be so helpful that I wish I could go out and shout it from the rooftops for everybody to learn? So that's what you're going to tell me about. Please don't tell me you actually didn't get a chance to teach it, so therefore you couldn't do it, because that's going to be a 0 for the credit for that. Tell me what you would teach. Now, you need to make each question basically a paragraph, so this is 3 paragraphs. Paragraphs have spaces between them. That means you hit return. I would ask you to hit enter, return twice, because I think it steals some of the paragraph spacing. So use like a double space between them. So type, 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 period, space, space, i.e. enter, enter, return, return, whatever you want to call it. Type, 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 return, return. Excuse me, I'm getting over bronchitis. Type, 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 type. Now, if you type it in Word, which we're obviously learning, there's a word count at the bottom, and it will tell you how many words you have. If you do not have that magic 150, keep thinking and typing. Then, basically, I expect this to be college level work. No texting language. You need to have spaces between each one of those questions, answers, so that they're in paragraph type form. It needs to be standard English. That means capitals and periods. And yeah, I'm old-fashioned. I actually like the word capital I with a capital. So I do grade down if you turn all your work in with a lowercase I turned in. I, and it's all lowercase. These classes are designed to help improve your writing capabilities for college, for schools, for profession, and the world types with capital I. So you're going to need to type with a capital I. And basically good grammar. If you are an English as a second language student, you need to go through and proofread really well that you've put the S's and the EDs on words. You've used correct grammar. If you're not a great writer, maybe you're you're still working on your writing series, you need to go through and proofread and proofread and proofread to make sure it sounds well written and makes sense. And then I'm showing you a grading rubric that I will let you take the time to go through, so I won't talk you through that. One thing you need to know, that this is an assignment that does not accept any late work under basically almost any circumstances. There are very, very, very few circumstances that I will accept this under a late criteria. They're usually life and death, hospitalization, medical notes supplied, yada yada type of things. So it's not, well, my kids were sick and I kind of got busy, and life happens, my world too, I get that, but these need to be done on time. So that's an every week assignment the rest of the term, so you'll be doing a lot of those. You will also have your continuing forms, and just like before, there's no change from week 1 and week 2, that you need to do a 100-word reply using standard English, i.e. capitals, periods, correct grammar. And then you also need to do a 50-word meaningful reply to at least one other student. Students lose credit on these. This is probably the easiest points you can earn, in the sense that it doesn't take, a huge amount of thought to respond to these. It takes a few minutes, and if you don't do it, you lose points. And those do build up over the term. You do lose quite a bit of credit. And then there is an extra credit upload link. That extra credit is good for 1 week. And we'll talk about that as we kind of do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch so we're sort of looking at the book. And you'll see my hands going underneath the camera. It's all I can do. There's no solution to that. So as I open the book, you'll notice that there are a number of pages that go by. And up at the top, it has like these ITs, so introduction. So you should go through and probably do some looking at this, making sure you're up to speed for either using folders in Windows 7 or the Windows 8 information. That would have been helpful in the first week. So if you had the book, hopefully you were able to use that. As you get kind of through this first intro stuff, you will come to the beginning of the first chapter. It says Microsoft Word at the top. It gives you some information on this page, and I'm sorry I can't get the whole page on there absolutely perfectly, but I think we can manage. And then it has a couple of things. Now I'm going to flip the book back and kind of do that flip-flop with the spiral so you can see both pages. So this is the first Word chapter. It has information to read that is important to read. Then it gives you actually an image of what your finished project should look like. So when I say you need to match the picture and you're going, but I don't have that font, look and find the one that's very, very closest to that font. You'll notice this is a real, like, straight lined font. It's not round and curvy. It's a real font, straight. It doesn't have little foo-foo things at the top of it. You're going to have to find a matching font if you can't get it otherwise. The pictures are all supplied. There's no excuse for a different picture. That is a non-issue, thank goodness. You'll notice this font. It doesn't have any of the little foo-foos. This type of font is called a non-serif font. A serif font has all those little extra add-ons to it. We'll probably see one at some point. I can point it out. So when you do this, this needs to be a non-serif font. This is green. It's kind of a subtle green. It is not a lime, neon, blow your socks off green. You need to match to that kind of subtle green. Same for down here. Notice it's centered. That makes a difference. It has the border on the page that's using that same subtle green. That should all match. Then you start the process, and you literally follow the textbook page by page, step by step, read by read. The one thing they do is they wait really long to do your first save, so I would suggest you save earlier than the book will tell you to. So you just keep turning pages, you keep looking at it, you keep basically reading every single direction, every single font, every single tab, every single line, so that you're getting everything done exactly as the book is doing it. Now remember, you're seeing kind of every other page because I'm not flipping every page. But bottom line is you need to be putting this in exactly as it says. I mean, literally reading from this first word on this page down through the words on this page, turning the book, reading all of these down here. Now this says CIS 101, Obviously, it's CAS 133. So you're going to ignore that little detail and fix that. Going to continue on through with all these directions, so you're getting everything formatted exactly as they're telling you to format it. You're finding the right font, you're finding the right font size. A lot of times if you're not finding the right font, it means you haven't followed a direction. Unfortunately, because they've changed some of the themes and formats, sometimes it's Microsoft's end too. So you're just going to have to use some really good problem solving, regardless of which version of Office you're using. So this kind of just continues on as you go down through here. It tells you how to set these words up, tells you how to set up the colors. This doesn't show the colors as clearly as I would like, but that is definitely a green. If you look on WD 21 of your book, you will be able to tell that. Going to continue through here. Yes, I check font sizes. Yes, I check spacing. Yes, I look for whether you have a serif or a non-serif font. I look for whether your green is something that is at least close to the green family, not a screaming neon, like I said, blow your socks off green or a blue. If you are colorblind, that is an issue, because you are going to have to be matching colors. But the nice thing is when you scroll your mouse over the top of the color drop-down box like this, it should bring up a little box that says basically what it is. So like it says orange accent to darker 25%. Obviously, if you want green, you don't want to use that orange. So there is a backup for you if you are colorblind. So you can try to at least get close to the right color. And then you may want somebody that's not colorblind to take a quick look at your colors. If there's somebody available that can say, you're not even close. Let me look. This one looks closer to the book, and get you started on the right track. So we continue right on through. Talks us about formatting a picture. You have to download the picture, which means you take it from Moodle, you bring it down to your machine, you save it on your machine or on a flash drive you're using on a college machine or a friend's machine, and then from there you can upload it into the program. You can insert it. You cannot just go from Moodle to Word. There's a step you're missing in there, and it's not going to work. It's Moodle to computer, computer to Word. So now we're starting to get it in here, and we're getting the pictures in. It's showing you what to do. It's showing you how to format your pictures. It starts talking you through all these steps in here. It's having you do different things with your pictures, and yeah, I look at all that. Now it's going to start having you put the border on. Hopefully you're saving often. This is like every time you do something, save. And Control and an S will save your computer project for you. Once you've saved it the first time, you can press the Control key and press the S key, and you've got to save. It's a real quick thing to do, and it's a lot quicker than starting over again. Now, on this one, we're not going to be doing document properties necessarily, but on the application project, which is the next direction that follows for the next video, you must have the document properties set, and if you don't, you're going to lose 4 points every project, which is pretty massive, really. So right here are your directions for how to do that. This is your book. Hopefully you bought it and didn't rent it. I would encourage you to mark in it. Put little sticky notes off the top, whatever it takes, so that you can get back to things, because this is going to sort of become your computer Bible that will help you be able to be successful. And most students keep it and use it for a lot more classes. So now you're kind of coming down to the end. A lot of people quit there, but you're not quite done. It has you correcting and revising. So in other words, when they want you to revise a document, they want you to go back and make some changes. Sometimes they'll have you save the changes, sometimes they won't. But if you don't make those changes, then, and they were to be saved, then I am grading you down for not completing the project. You need to know how to open a document again. You know how to zoom the document, so that's still all important. This is inserting text, so they're having you do some changes. So here you thought you were almost done and you're not quite. Having you delete some text, move some text, all of that has to happen. Then it's having you resave it again. And then it does talk about printing a document. Now, you don't have to print that document because you are submitting it electronically, but you need to know how to print that document because for some of your classes, they won't be electronic and you will need to know how to submit them as a piece of paper on the instructor's desk or to your boss. So it's always worth learning how to print, the printer features, and those features are somewhat controlled by your printer, so it may look slightly different than the book. So now I'm still kind of trading through here. I'm looking at how to switch to read mode. I'm looking at how to switch to print and layout view mode, how to exit. And then I get to the end of the chapter and it says something that's really basic. Chapter summary. So that tells me now I'm actually to the end of that assignment. I need to save it and I need to upload it. And I suggest you upload it to Moodle as soon as you can. If you're on the internet, do it like right then. If you're sitting, some weird place and you don't have internet and you're doing this like in the back seat of the car or something because you're out of town, then you'll have to wait until you get to internet. But as soon as you can get to internet, upload it. People sometimes forget to turn the work in even though they did it. And then they wonder why they didn't get credit. Kind of basic. I have to have it to give you credit. So then you're just going to come right back over here to Moodle and you're going to upload this learning project here. If you needed to use this different version form, and I don't think you probably will given the fact that we're all going to be fighting with some Moodle or Microsoft issues, but if you feel the need to, you will have downloaded it from up here. And I just have to find it. But anyway, you will have downloaded it and then you will have, there it is, completed it and uploaded it. That finishes this part of the video. We will have a second portion of the video that's very, very important because there's a 50-point project that you're now about to start. So see you in a few minutes on the next video.